Number 15. Oil giant goes nearly electric. Norway has one of the strangest contradictions in the automotive world. The country built enormous wealth from oil and gas, yet buying a new gasoline car here has become surprisingly rare. In 2025, electric vehicles accounted for a staggering 95.9% of all new passenger cars registered nationwide, and the transformation continued in 2026. During the first half of the year, 97.6% of new passenger cars were electric. In April alone, that figure reached 98.6%. with just 87 new diesel cars and 31 gasoline cars registered across the entire country. Norway also crossed another historic milestone in June 2026. More than 1 million electric cars were now part of its passenger car fleet. This dramatic shift was encouraged by years of tax advantages, government policies, and expanding charging infrastructure. Yet Norway has not completely abandoned fossil fuel cars. By the end of June 2026, EVs represented about 34.3% of the total passenger car fleet. So while the new car market is almost entirely electric, Norway's roads still reveal a country in the middle of an extraordinary transformation. Number 14. Houses with living grass roofs. Some Norwegian houses look as if nature is slowly swallowing them, but the grass growing on their roofs is often there by design. Traditional turf roofs have been part of Norwegian architecture for centuries and can still be seen on historic farmhouses, cabins, and buildings across the countryside. The visible grass is only the top layer. Historically, thick pieces of turf were placed over layers of birch bark, which helped create a durable and water-resistant roof, while the heavy turf kept the bark securely in position. The result also provided useful insulation against Norway's changing climate. As industrial materials became widely available, turf roofs became less necessary, but they never completely disappeared. Today, they remain an unmistakable symbol of traditional Norwegian architecture, especially at open-air museums, mountain cabins, and heritage sites. Modern versions may use updated waterproofing beneath the vegetation while preserving the historic appearance. For first-time visitors, the sight can be surreal. Wildflowers and long ground grass moving in the wind above a wooden house. What looks like an abandoned building may actually represent centuries of practical Scandinavian design. Number 13. Arctic islands that look unreal. Far above the Arctic Circle lies Lofoten, a chain of Norwegian islands so dramatic that the landscape can almost look computer-generated. Sharp granite mountains rise directly from the Norwegian Sea, while tiny fishing villages, deep fjords, and red fishermen's cabins sit along the coastline. But perhaps the biggest surprise is the beaches. Places like Haukeland, Ramberg, and Utakleiv have white sand and clear turquoise water that could easily be mistaken for a tropical destination until you remember you are deep in Arctic Norway. The seasons make Lofoten even more extraordinary. From late May to mid-July, visitors can experience the midnight sun when daylight continues through the night. Then, as darkness returns, the islands become a prime destination for seeing the northern lights, typically from September into April. Fishing has shaped life here for centuries, and historic villages such as Rain still preserve that connection to the sea. Lofoten is where Arctic wilderness and human settlement exist almost side by side, creating one of Norway's most unforgettable landscapes. Number 12. Norway's biggest national celebration. For most of the year, Norway may feel calm and understated. But every May 17th, the country transforms. Constitution Day, known simply as 17th of May, celebrates the signing of Norway's constitution in 1814, and it has become the nation's biggest public celebration. In Oslo, tens of thousands of children traditionally join the famous Children's Parade, marching through the city center toward the Royal Palace, where members of the royal family greet the crowds from the balcony. What makes the celebration unusual is its focus on children, families, marching bands, and local communities, rather than a massive military parade. Streets fill with Norwegian flags, music, and people wearing bunad, elaborate traditional clothing associated with different regions of the country. Schools organize parades across Norway, while families gather for food, celebrations, and community events. For a visitor arriving on an ordinary May morning, the transformation can be astonishing. Quiet streets suddenly become a sea of red, white, and blue, revealing a joyful side of Norwegian culture that tourists rarely see on a normal day. Number 11. Roads disappear inside mountains. Driving across Norway can feel like entering a giant engineering experiment. Mountains, deep valleys, and fjords make ordinary road construction incredibly difficult, so Norwegians often chose a more dramatic solution: go straight through the mountain. The country has more than 1,200 road tunnels, and the most famous is the Lærdal Tunnel, connecting Lærdal and Årland in western Norway. Stretching 24.5 kilometers, or about 15.2 miles, it is recognized as the world's longest road tunnel. A drive through it takes roughly 20 minutes, meaning you can travel for an astonishing distance without seeing daylight. To reduce the monotony of such a long underground journey, the tunnel includes 3 large mountain halls positioned along the route, creating visual breaks for drivers. But Lærdal is only part of the story. Norway also has extraordinary undersea tunnels that descend beneath fjords before climbing back toward the surface. Here, tunnels are not tourist attractions built for spectacle. They are essential infrastructure, connecting remote communities through some of Europe's most challenging terrain. Number 10. Ferries are everyday transportation. In Norway, a ferry ride through spectacular fjords may look like a dream vacation, but for many residents, it is simply part of getting from one place to another. Norway's coastline is deeply cut by fjords and surrounded by thousands of islands, making direct road connections difficult in many regions. That is why car ferries function like moving sections of the highway system. Cars, buses, delivery trucks, cyclists, and commuters can all board, cross the water, and continue their journey on the road at the other side. Some ferry connections are even integrated into Norway's national and county road networks. But there is another surprising twist. Norway has also become a pioneer in electric ferries. The battery-powered Ampere entered regular service in 2015, demonstrating that even large vessels on short routes could operate with electricity. Since then, battery electric and hybrid technology has expanded across numerous routes. For travelers, crossing a fjord can be one of the most beautiful moments of the trip. For locals, that same breathtaking journey may simply be the road to work, school, shopping, or home. Nine. Nature is open to everyone. One of Norway's most surprising traditions is that exploring the countryside does not always require owning the land or paying an entrance fee. The principle known as allemannsretten, or the right to roam, gives everyone broad access to uncultivated land, including forests, mountains, and much of the coastline. You can hike, ski, and enjoy nature even when the land is privately owned. as long as you follow the rules and respect the people who live there. Wild camping is also generally permitted on uncultivated land, but tents must normally stay at least 150 meters, about 490 feet, from an inhabited house or cabin. Staying in the same location for more than 2 nights may require the landowner's permission, although different rules can apply in remote mountain areas. This freedom comes with responsibility. Visitors must avoid damaging nature, disturbing animals, crossing cultivated fields when prohibited, or leaving trash behind. In a country famous for spectacular landscapes, Norway treats access to nature not simply as tourism, but as a deeply rooted part of everyday life and national culture. Number 8. Bad weather doesn't stop childhood. In Norway, cold rain, snow, and freezing temperatures do not automatically mean children spend the entire day indoors. Outdoor life is deeply connected to Norwegian culture through the idea of friluftsliv, a term describing the enjoyment of life in the open air. That mindset often begins early. In many kindergartens, outdoor play is a regular part of the day, with children wearing waterproof clothing, wool layers, boots, and winter gear suited to changing conditions. Some kindergartens place an especially strong emphasis on nature, allowing children to spend significant time exploring forests and outdoor environments throughout the year. The goal is not to expose children to unsafe weather, but to adapt activities and clothing to appropriate conditions. This connection with nature continues later through hiking, skiing, and family trips. For visitors from warmer countries, seeing young children playing outside on a snowy winter day can be surprising. In Norway, however, winter is not simply something to hide from. With suitable clothing and sensible precautions, it becomes another season for experiencing the outdoors. Number 7. Prisons built around rehabilitation. Norway's prisons can challenge what many people imagine a correctional facility should look like. The system is based on what authorities call the principle of normality. The punishment is the loss of freedom, while life inside should resemble ordinary society where practical and safe. Facilities such as Halden Prison have attracted international attention for private rooms, education, job training, exercise areas, and spaces designed to prepare inmates for eventual release. But this does not mean Norwegian prisons are hotels or that serious crimes are treated casually. They remain controlled institutions with security measures, rules, and restricted freedom. The major difference is the long-term goal. Because most prisoners will eventually return to society, Norway places strong emphasis on rehabilitation, education, work skills, and maintaining useful social connections. Correctional staff are also trained to interact closely with inmates while maintaining security. The surprising idea behind the system is simple. Protecting society is not only about confinement today, but also about reducing the chances that someone commits another crime after release. Number 6. Everyday life costs a fortune. Norway's high incomes can create the impression that everyday life must feel effortlessly affordable, but visitors often discover the opposite. Prices are among the first things many travelers notice. According to statistics, Norway's European price level comparison for 2024, Norway's overall household consumption price level was about 24% above the EU average. Food and non-alcoholic beverages were roughly 31% higher, while restaurants and hotels were about 43% above the EU average. That difference becomes obvious when eating out. booking accommodation, or simply shopping for groceries. High labor costs, taxes, wages, and Norway's economic structure all contribute to the prices consumers encounter. Yet these numbers need context. Norwegian wages are also relatively high, so a local resident experiences these prices differently from a tourist converting dollars, euros, or another currency. For travelers, however, the lesson is immediate. Norway's mountains, fjords, and public landscapes may offer unforgettable experiences, but ordinary expenses can quickly consume a vacation budget. In this wealthy country, even an everyday restaurant meal can become one of the trip's biggest surprises. Number 5. Huge country. Surprisingly few people. Norway can feel enormous when you travel through it, yet remarkably few people actually live there. According to Statistics Norway, the population reached about 5.63 million at the beginning of 2026. That is a surprisingly small population for a country stretching roughly 1,150 kilometers, or about 1,090 miles, from south to north on the mainland. The contrast becomes even clearer outside major urban areas. Much of Norway is dominated by mountains, plateaus, forests, glaciers, and deeply carved fjords, while settlement is concentrated heavily around cities, valleys, and coastal communities. Oslo alone has more than 700,000 residents within the municipality. But travel into rural Norway and the landscape can change dramatically. Roads may run for long distances between small communities, and some northern areas feel almost empty compared with major European population centers. Norway's geography helps explain this unusual pattern. Spectacular terrain also makes large areas difficult to settle. The result is one of the country's defining experiences. Vast landscapes where nature often feels much bigger than the human presence within it. Number 4. Norwegians escape to tiny cabins. In one of Europe's wealthiest and most technologically advanced countries, an ideal weekend can mean leaving modern city life behind for a simple cabin in the mountains. Norway's hytte culture is far more than a vacation trend. According to Statistics Norway, the country has roughly 450,000 holiday homes and cabins, an extraordinary number for a population of only about 5.6 million. These retreats can be found beside fjords, deep in forests, along the coast and across mountain regions. Some modern cabins have electricity, Wi-Fi, and luxurious interiors, while others remain intentionally basic, with limited running water or fewer everyday comforts. For many families, the attraction is exactly that simplicity. Weekends and holidays may revolve around hiking, skiing, fishing, cooking together, or simply sitting quietly away from crowded streets. Cabins are also commonly passed through generations, becoming part of family traditions. The surprising part is the contrast. In a country known for wealth and advanced technology, one of the most valued escapes can still be a small wooden cabin surrounded by almost nothing but wilderness. Number 3. Skiing is practically a tradition. In Norway, skiing is far more than a winter vacation activity. It is deeply woven into the country's history, outdoor culture, and national identity. Cross-country skiing is especially popular, and when snow arrives, prepared trails can appear surprisingly close to major population centers. Around Oslo, the surrounding forests offer an extensive network of routes where people can ski through the landscape without traveling to a luxury mountain resort. Norway's connection to the sport is also reflected on the world stage. At the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina, Norway finished with 41 medals, including 18 golds, once again placing the country among the dominant winter sports nations. But the most interesting part is what happens away from elite competition. Families and recreational skiers use winter trails for exercise, social time, and simply being outdoors. The famous Norwegian expression that people are born with skis on their feet is obviously not literal, but it reveals how strongly skiing is associated with the culture. In Norway, winter does not necessarily end outdoor life. For many people, snowfall simply changes the way they move through nature. Number 2. Cash is almost disappearing. Imagine arriving in Norway with a wallet full of cash, only to discover that you may barely need it. Norway has become one of the most digitalized payment societies in the world, where tapping a card or phone is now part of everyday life. According to Norges Bank's Spring 2026 survey, cash represented just 3% of all payments, down dramatically from around 8 to 9% in 2019. At physical stores, payment cards accounted for 59% of transactions, while mobile phones had already risen to 37%. The numbers become even more striking when you look at the entire country. In 2025, more than 3.3 billion payments were made with Norwegian payment cards, and contactless technology dominated card purchases at physical terminals. Meanwhile, the number of ATMs dropped from 1,029 in 2024 to only 1,028 in 25. Yet Norway has not eliminated cash. About 1 in 4 people surveyed still used it at least once a month, and authorities continue to emphasize its importance during emergencies or digital disruptions. For visitors, the surprise is simple. In Norway, your smartphone may be more useful than a pocket full of banknote. Number 1. Wealth looks different in Norway. Perhaps Norway's biggest surprise is not its electric cars, mountain tunnels, or grass-covered roofs, but the way prosperity can exist alongside a remarkably strong connection to nature. Norway is one of the world's wealthiest countries, supported by major oil and gas resources and a sovereign wealth fund worth trillions of Norwegian kroner. Yet, everyday Norwegian culture is not defined only by luxury. Outdoor life, public access to nature, skiing, hiking, and weekends at simple cabins remain deeply rooted traditions. This creates a fascinating contradiction. Norway exports enormous quantities of fossil fuels, while almost completely electrifying its new car market. Its cities are modern and highly digitalized, yet many people still value escaping to remote mountains and forests. Even the country's immense petroleum wealth has largely been invested through the government pension fund Global for long-term public benefit, rather than simply spent as it was earned. Norway is certainly not perfect, and high prices and other challenges remain. But after exploring this country, perhaps the greatest surprise is this. Here, being wealthy does not always mean surrounding yourself with more. Sometimes, it means having the freedom to enjoy less. Norway is a land of striking contrasts, where ancient traditions meet modern technology, and breathtaking wilderness remains part of everyday life. Which of these 15 surprising facts amazed you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through real life in Norway, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who love discovering the world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on our next adventure.